Welcome to our January Parks and Recreation Board. I'm Diane Scott, President, and I would like to go around for a roll call and just have you all introduce yourself because we do have a couple of new faces.
Teresa Tackett, Nome County Zoning Administrator.
I'm John Mexer.
Matt Dice, no pre-extension, but 4-H division.
Okay,
I'm Kevin Yan.
Yep.
Live at Kenwood.
all right. Thank you, guys. And we do have a quorum. We need 3 of our 5 park board members here, and we do have 3 of the directors here. Roll call is complete. You all received the copies of the November meeting minutes. Grace sent those out a couple weeks ago. Are there any changes or corrections to the November 19th meeting minutes? Did you guys all see these? You wanna?
Sure, Diane.
I did read through them. I didn't see anything that, I did not have any changes. I don't know, do you have those? Okay, all right. So if there are no changes, could I get a motion to accept the November meeting minutes
So
and a second? All right, Chris, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, what we'd like to do now, just update from my report since November, obviously, holidays, not a lot. We didn't do a lot, but we do know that we have one open board position. Scott Allen tendered his resignation effective 12/31. And that's what he focused on the park board. He's been one of those like John and like Jim Haddock, who have been on the park board since it was created in 2014. So Scott really felt that it was time for him to step down and for us to look at others. So we have started to explore a few candidates for that. And Kevin is one who has expressed an interest in that, whether he becomes a director or a member of the park board, like, the rest of you guys. He'll be a very valuable person. You'll hear a little bit more from him. So in January, Grace and I and John sat and met with Kevin, just explore the interests a little bit. We do have a couple other candidates that we're looking at so that we can make the recommendation, to the council and the commissioners on who the addition would be to replace them. So that's really the extent of my president's report. Any questions for me? No? All right. Next on our agenda is Teresa from the Planning Director. Any updates for you?
Nome County Planning is now looking at obtaining companies to help us with a comprehensive plan. So we'll look over the entire county and get input from property owners in the county. Park board could probably participate in some of that. I think it would be valid, John.
yeah, it would be.
But outside of that, we're just now starting the process of obtaining companies that are willing to do it. The price point is fairly high so far. The first 2 I saw were anywhere between 150 and 200,000 to have that done. And then from there, we amend our UDO. So this will be a probably 2 to 5 year process all the way around.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be fast, right, John?
When was the last UDO published?
Well, the last UDO was just updated in last year with a couple amendments. We're going to amend one more thing potentially at this next commissioners meeting. But the original ordinance was adopted in 2013.
Okay, I was thinking
The
of that.
last comprehensive plan we did was in 18, I think. So it's time to at least look at it. I think it needs a little more meat, and that's kind of the direction we want to go to. We want to have more of a direction in this comp plan than what we have now.
Perfect. All right, that's exciting. That's very exciting.
A lot of work.
Yeah. Anything worth doing is going to be hard.
Mhm.
That's the thing. All right, any questions for Teresa? All right, we do not have a representative from EDC, so we'll skip over that. And Steve, I think, is going to be joining us. He's crawling in as we speak. You are right on time, Mr. Steve.
Hello,
Hi.
Steve.
How are you doing? Happy New Year.
Oh,
We were just getting to your spot on the agenda to see if you had any updates for GIS, or if you'd like to catch your breath and we can come back to you.
have you guys had an opportunity to review that recreation website?
I have looked at that, yeah. It looks really good. I was just gonna thank you for all your efforts on that.
That was my summer intern that did a lot of work, so
Yeah.
thank you to
Yeah, I think,
Mr. Fletcher. So,
okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really
other than that, I guess, is there anything that I need to report on or that you need?
No, I think as we put our goals together this year, and we've got some really specific things that we'll talk about here, like February and March, there'll be some things that we will need your help with. So we'll pull you in as we need to.
Thank you.
All right. Grace would normally give our update on our website and Facebook activity. She is in Indy today, so Grace is not here. So we'll just pass over that. In terms of old business, the only thing I had for old business was the open board position. There has been a couple people have expressed an interest in it, as I mentioned earlier in my president's report. So we'll continue to look at them and make a recommendation on who we think would be a good fit. And we're always looking for extra bodies to be on the board, whether you are a director or not. We can use the hands and the help, and if you have an interest in it, we'll find a place for you. So we're just exploring all those folks at this point. Under new business, well, let me go before I go to that. Does anyone else have any old business that I forgot? Is there anything that, John, that maybe
No, I
I
think
missed or?
My comments will probably be in the new business.
Okay, Chris, anything, because you've been here through all of it, okay, all right. Under new business, in January of every year, we elect from the directors, we elect our officers. We have 3 offices. We have president, vice president, and secretary. Last year, I served as president, John was vice president, and Grace is secretary. So at this point, we need to make some nominations for those positions. I would like to nominate Grace for secretary. I did talk, she's expressed an
I was gonna
interest.
say she's not here, you just
I-
throw her.
No,
out.
no. I cleared it with her
It's just like every
before.
other board.
Yeah, no, I did clear it with
We only
her.
make one meeting in this.
Yeah, but
You don't miss the first.
no, Grace is doing a great job. She's been a tremendous asset to the organization since she joined several years ago. And I did talk to her and ask if she had an interest in moving up or what she wanted to do. And she said she'd really like to stay as secretary for, another year or so. So I would like to nominate Grace to continue in that position as secretary, if I could get a second for that. Okay, Chris is seconded. All those in favor, or should say before we do that, is there any other nominations? I don't think so, but. No, Chris is not here. Okay, so all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right. Okay, now we need a nomination for vice president. And John, would you be interested in serving you last year?
Chris.
I was just gonna ask if you would be interested in moving up to president in your last year. Okay,
I don't have the time.
okay. All right, so we need, a nomination for vice president. And if you'd be willing to stay on,
I would do that.
could we get someone to nominate?
I nominate John.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Could we get a second?
We're getting more out of you.
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna second that. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, for president. Chris, would you like to move up to president?
Just a question, are we voting members or are we just kind of more or less?
Yeah, the directors are the voting members, sorry.
clarify that?
Yeah, no,
You got a
quite
better
frankly.
idea, speak up now.
Yeah, if you,
You
yeah,
want it on? Yeah, president.
No.
yeah, the way the board is, there are 6 board members and they are the voting members, but we have lots of people who, I should say, the directors are the voting members, and the board can be the directors and any other interested parties, which, you guys are the interested parties, very valuable part of the team, but not a voting member according to the established rules from the commissioners and the council.
All
So,
right, Diane, I'll nominate you as president.
One second.
I'm pretty quick on that one.
all those in favor? say aye.
Aye.
All right, and I will do it for one more year, and then hopefully we'll have someone else that can take on. Okay, one of the things that you'll notice, that this is a new date and time. We wanted to make sure that we could get some of our other partners involved in the meetings, and it just appeared that our evening meetings did not fit for a lot of the external partners. So we've moved it to 2:30 to 3:45, the fourth Wednesday of every month. So you should have all gotten a copy of the calendar. So I wanted to make sure you had that. I also wanted to ask Teresa, do you know if Jackie has us down for all those dates? Okay,
At this point, I mean, the court may supersede us having this room at some point, but the other thing that we talked about was trying to live stream to get more input from the community members. So that's why we're in this room.
yes.
We can live stream this room. It stays on our YouTube channel,
Mhm.
so it's out there forever. So if you want to revisit something that we looked at or a conversation that happened, or if you want to send someone that you know is interested in seeing what you do, you can send them to the Noble County Indiana government page, and from there they can get onto the YouTube link. And it's
Perfect.
noted in the cart board, and we'll put the date behind each meeting.
Good, okay.
So if there's a PowerPoint ever that wants to come up, we can actually present that as well.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure everybody had the 2025 meeting schedule and location, and that we will be meeting in this room. As she said, unless we're superseded, then I'm sure we can find an office someplace in here to have it. So they'll be here in the annex. We have not established the date for the summit. Part of the question that we have is we need, as a board, to decide if we're going to do a spring and a fall summit, or if we're going to do just one. That's something that we need to talk about. I know Grace has had some input with some of the stakeholders, and I'm sure she'll give us an update next month when she's back. But I think that we were leaning toward still doing two this year, and then evaluate next year if we need to go down to one. But they are well attended. We get good participation, we get good input. So that is something that we want to get on everybody's calendar right away. And the participants in that are the other local park boards, any recreational folks, people who have an interest in the recreation, and just general citizens. So we've had a really good turnout for those, and we try to pick topics that are things that they need. So that's been valuable, and we've asked for their input. What would you like to have? So we'll get more information and get those dates out. 3.4 there, I brought up the open director position again because I was wondering, do we need to do something in the paper? Right now it's word of mouth that we are doing. We're just taking people that we all know and saying, hey, this would be a good park board fit. But just like the library or anybody else and you did, I think, for the planning commission or the planning department, you posted a position.
Yeah, we have to.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, would that be something that, as a park board, we should maybe do an article in the paper and say, we're looking for, more members, whether they end up as a director or a board member, what do you guys think about putting it in, to try and generate some interest through the community?
Well, there's other communities, like the Amish community don't maybe necessarily participate in some of the things that we may be advertising in, and a lot of them, I think, would be a good asset to have. Some of them start participating in some of these meetings, so if we can figure out which I might be able to help you with, get some of that information into their hands as well. I think that would be valid, and if you have a job description if you want, I can probably fish that out to a couple of my
in our bylaws, we do have job descriptions, so I can put that together. What I was going to volunteer was to draft an initial press release that could go, whether it's in the local newspapers or any other
We can send
resources. We can get it sent out. I just wanted to, before I did it, bring it up to the board and say, we haven't advertised like that in the past. And I'm not talking about, a classified ad. I'm just talking about a nice article in the paper saying we're looking for, more members,
I think that's a great idea. Getting the public involved has been a struggle.
Right.
But one of my questions was, I know, like on the planning board, and I don't know how far politics go, but does this board need to be split between parties?
It is set that way now. I think the additional board members, not that the directors have to have party affiliation, you have to have an equal split there, but the additional board members do not. So we do not have to worry about whether
I
they're
guess
Democrat.
explain that, what do you mean by additional? Like somebody's gonna replace me.
Yeah, if they are going to be a director, then we have to make
Director.
sure that they are,
You're not heavy weighted on one. part.
right. We have
But
to
I
make
thought we
sure,
have to
yeah.
be careful
So,
about who we-
a director position, we have to make sure that they are equally split. And then a board member, so people who are not directors, they can be whatever.
Okay, for each position, who do we contact to get there? Because everybody was,
No, that was in the November meeting minutes.
well, I mean, do we need to contact them, who we think, and then they have to, I assume they have to okay it or support it.
Are you talking about who actually?
Goes on to the board as you and I.
Yeah, we make the recommendation to whether it's the commissioners, the judge, or the council.
That's what I-
Because there are different director positions are appointed by different entities. The one that Scott Allen was the circuit court judge appointed Scott. So when we have our recommendation, we'll have to write a recommendation to the circuit court judge and tell them we have this open position vacated by Scott Allen. Here's our recommendation, or maybe we'll give like 2 recommendations. I don't know, depending on what we have. But, we would write that letter and ask that they endorse, that person and make that appointment. Because it is the director positions are appointed positions. So offices within the directors are voted, but the director positions are appointed. They're appointed by Purdue. Purdue has 1 appointment. County council has 2, the circuit court judge has 2, and the county commissioners have 1. Okay, so, but yes, we do have to maintain party affiliation in the directors to make sure they're not all one party or the other. And then as far as board members, anyone who has an interest, can be a board member. Yeah, we can offer to have them on the board. Okay? Yeah.
That's what most people don't think about that,
Well, I thought about it because of
what we have to do.
Yeah, so I will go ahead and to try and get some additional interest in, not only a director position, but just board, to expand our board. There's so much that we would like to be able to do. We need to have some additional bodies and thoughts and experts. And so I will put that initial letter together, get it out to everybody. And then Teresa, if you can help maybe find the communication path for like the Amish community, that would be awesome.
We're working on it, so.
Okay, perfect. And that kind of fit into the 3.5 expanded volunteer members. I would like to see our board grow so that we have, the bicycle club, the different groups recognized and here to talk about, what do they need within the county? How are they using it? So that they have a voice here, not necessarily having to go to Albion and Kendallville and all different places, but we're gathering that information here. So we do want to continue to look at how to expand our volunteer members. Okay, any questions on?
Well, I guess, with especially we got some new people here, we need, our biggest problem is getting people to realize what we have. I mean, what Steve has done, and I talk to people, and they, what? It's a thing, you just gotta look it up.
Right.
That, I think, is our biggest problem.
That's
that we're having.
communication.
Communication.
I think
Community.
that's our, legal planning, we have that.
But yeah,
I think if people are interested, they do take the time, is getting them to understand that that's out here,
right.
and then get them interested.
Yeah, in your case, usually it's when they have a problem.
For sure.
I mean, that's just the gist of it.
It's just, yeah,
Well, and you're absolutely right. If people have an interest, they're going to go and search and find it. Otherwise, they're not going to take the time or expend the effort. You and I were at the Senior Expo last fall, or whenever it was, and last summer, I was surprised at how many people came up to the park board table and saw like, oh, you have all this? I didn't know we had this. Well, when was this started? Yeah, they don't know, so we're really trying to work on how do you communicate that.
so
And
let me ask you a question, so since you have good attendance at the summit, how are we not bringing that attendance into the meeting?
into this meeting,
Any of these meetings yet, how are you not getting them back?
yeah, we have not asked them to participate in this meeting,
Mhm.
but that is one of the things I would like to see, is
Okay.
extend an invitation to the other park boards, the local park boards, the city park boards, to come in and
Because our
visit.
attendance brings better conversation. It
Absolutely.
makes board members better and more accountable, and it helps you to implement what you need done better.
Right, right.
Someone's done something that you want to do, they can help you get that passed.
Exactly, and that was one of my thoughts for goals for this year, was to at least extend the invitation to the other city park boards to send a representative once a month, for this meeting, so they can help give us some input for, the summit or any of the projects that we've got going on. We'll be looking at potentially a 5-year park plan. It'd be great to have their input, so that's one of the things when I talked about expanded, members, to be able to just extend the invitation. And if they can come, great, because we've had 5-person or 6-person board for
But we've
a
kind
long
of
time.
thought we've always let them know, but I don't know, to be truthful for their side, that they felt like, what is their gain by coming to the meeting?
Yeah.
Even if it would be, just give us an update on what you're doing.
Right.
Even though we're the county, I guess as a whole, what we've basically done is since we had no money, was just trying to tell everybody what is out there.
Right.
Yeah, sadly, we haven't done a very good job.
I do think starting to advertise where the meetings will be live streamed and archived.
Uh-huh.
That will hopefully help get some interest in what you're doing.
Right, and I think as we put together our goals and we talk about the specific goals during the year, we could say our July meeting is gonna focus on this. So people will come if they know that that's what it's going to be. So if we talk about, our specific items, I think that will help as well.
And I would add it to your agenda every meeting.
Oh, yeah, that's what, when we get our 2025 goals finalized, they will be,
Well, I mean, even a live stream on the
Oh, yeah.
header of your meeting, you can live stream it here if you can't attend.
oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Does the Noble County Visitors Bureau, do they send anybody down to the sports vacation boat show down at the Coliseum?
I would assume Grace does, but I don't know.
More or less like a destination county.
Mhm.
And we're just lucky to maintain our population. And the reason I say that, when you go to Chena Lakes, that campground is never empty. When people are coming from somewhere to come up here, so it's like, how do we get the word out? I grew up around Huntertown, and then I've lived all over this corner of the state over my years. And it's like I found there's a lot to do here that people are really unaware of.
So the flyer that you just pulled up with the website from Steve, is it possible that can be passed out when someone pays their park pass when they come in at the park? Would the state park allow that? Here's
So-
some things to do in Noble County.
Yeah, that's not, the question, the question would be, we couldn't print the whole thing maybe, but at least have a QR code or something that they could say, hey, if you want to know what else to do in Noble County, go to this website. Most people have their phone and, they're not necessarily, for us,
Yeah, but that's faster.
yeah. I'm just thinking that, we don't have the money to print a bunch of stuff, but we could maybe, print some QR codes or something that they could get.
That's probably not a bad idea, because honestly, I've had people from Channel Lakes. I've run into them in the middle of Wolf Lake.
Yeah,
Because I remember talking to Doomer and a couple of the guys that said, hey, guys, this was years ago.
Mhm.
You need a sign. People are coming out of the park and they're going the wrong way.
right.
And now they do have a sign.
Especially the hardware store.
Yeah. Hardware store, grocery
Yeah,
store.
Needing
things-
propane or,
Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause I was amazed. I'm going, you were a few miles, man.
Don't
Don't you know math, man?
that's a really good idea, because you could have them so they could be passed out at Bixler Lake, at any of the community parks, campgrounds. Yes,
I think the big thing would be making sure the state would allow you to do that. And then
Right.
maybe asking if there's certain areas you can put a QR code. What else to do in Noble County?
Mhm.
And statewide someplace.
So from the state, you have 2 state entities here in our county. You have Chena Lakes Park, you also have Tri-County, which I was showing down here. They bought property on 500 South out here, an old farm out here just northeast of Albion. And it's like they've added on to Mallard's Roost up there by Diamond Lake. So of those 2 state entities, who really, are they 2 separate entities, or
I'm not familiar with Tri-County, so that's one that we'd have to check. I don't know if anybody else is, but that's one I'd have to check and see who do they fall under, et cetera.
Well, they're fish and wildlife, they're, you know,
Yeah, and they're not too far from the swamp where the water thing was gonna go in. It's
Oh,
not very far apart.
Loon area,
Yeah, whatever, where they were,
Pisgah Marsh.
just there was.
That's the other thing too, is what about some of these public launch sites? Are you allowed to put anything out there on the poster boards? Can you have, you know, like you said, the QR code with a title on it? Have that out there when someone's going fishing for the day and oh, it starts raining, we're gonna go get something.
I guess that's the point I was trying to make it for the state in our county. Who is the point of contact that's at the top of the food chain?
You'll have some people from the state park over at your conference, because I've
Right.
met them before,
Right.
so I would think they
Yeah,
would
we
be
could, we could reach out and talk to them. I know like at Duke's Bridge, we just work with DNR to put things out there, yeah, like from West Lakes, yeah. But I would think you'd do the same thing for them, but a QR code. So, you know,
just who gets the permission, who gets the
yeah,
permission.
yeah, how do you go about it and, yeah, get it developed, et cetera. Would someone like to work with that? Would you like to work with me on identifying who the players are and?
Sure.
Okay.
I was gonna add one more thing.
Yeah.
The new governor, and this is sort of near and dear to my heart, as a kid, down at Lake Monroe, my grandpa, one day we went down there grouse hunting. And then somewhere in the 70s or something, they made that whole south side of Lake Monroe Charles Dean Wilderness area. And Governor Braun, when he was senator, introduced a bill. They wanted to expand that wilderness area because he's real familiar with that. So it's like, I know he is real keen on wild areas and stuff. And I was telling Diane earlier, like the Mallard Roost, that whole area of the creek there. I wonder if the state has any plans on expanding, buying up any more of the farms and stuff along the river.
Well, but they might, but they really need to clean the river up so you can use it. Which don't get me on Diane's. I appreciate that.
We've got that tender spot in our heart for that.
But you're right, state ground, that basically nobody can use.
Unless they make it a public
Yeah,
access.
hopefully they put it on public access back in, they lost, I'm not sure what.
Right. Mallard Roost one, I was looking on the maps this morning, that's,
But you have private entities along there, I'm gonna guess all of them. So,
It's okay. But I think, you know, when we start, we've done very little, we've done a lot with very little, let me put it
well,
that, yeah.
issue, you might agree, money's the issue.
Yeah,
Just like
money's
the
the
signs.
issue.
We've had people come in and help with signs on the river and stuff,
Mhm.
we didn't have our.
We didn't have the funding.
We talked about kiosks. We didn't have the money.
Right, right.
That is, for all of you who haven't said it, I think Steve did that for a long time ago. Race, even when Ray was there, that was our motto, we have no money.
Yeah. But
So we were always trying to do things.
right, but I think what we're wanting to do now is really identify some very specific actions, you know, like, can we get some of these, how do we promote, yeah, with maybe a QR code in all these locations to at least say, here's what we've got. And the more we can show that we're doing something, maybe we'll get an opportunity to get some funding, or at least get, you know, the government entity, you know, the county council to change our, you know, to say that, you know, we can pursue grants, et cetera, you know, because there are things we could get wayfaring signage. We could do these things if we were able to. This government would not have to do that. Our county government would not have to pay for that. We get grants to do that if we get permission to do grants.
The problem with that, for those that haven't said it, is time we go and get grants, find out we want a grant, and we gotta go get permission. It just elongates the whole thing.
Yeah, so we have some ideas of some things we want to go in and ask again, you know, our county council to make some modifications to allow us to do that. And taking this one step further, we're kind of getting into some of the 2025 goals. we wanted to look at how do we promote it, but then Kevin was also sharing with me, there are places along the river that are actually owned by the highway department. Now, we've worked with, the highway guy. Zach, yeah. We would like to continue to work with Zach to identify are any of these spots, places that we could, put in kayak kiosks? Could we put in something for people to access, the water-based recreation? What are some of the things that we could do there? So one of the things that I would like to put on our 2025 goals is to identify all along the North and South Branch River, because that is one of our main goals in our 5-year plan, was to increase water-based recreation. I'd like to make sure that we can identify what are those opportunities for us to work with county-owned property, acres-owned property that's along the river, who owns along the river, and are any of those ideal spots that we could do some expanded type of access. So we'd like to, Steve, maybe, obviously you with the GIS would be a great member of that kind of subcommittee. So I'd like to see if I could, work with you to identify some of those. And Kevin's got a good idea on that too, but could we go through and identify, those properties along the river that are either owned by, acres owned by the county, so that we would have a good inventory of those? Kind of like a windshield inventory or whatever you want to say. Okay, here's a broad list. Which ones could potentially be sites that we could explore some additional opportunity instead of just mowing grass there. So, okay.
Are you focused more on water?
No, that's just one of the goals that we have. We had 5 goals. One, to continue to look at working across all the county, updating our communication of what assets we have, leveraging water-based recreation, and then health and wellness improvement, I think were the main ones. So water is just the one that we've tried to work on this last year, to try and get either purchase property where we could get a kayak launch to have recreational access, or to be able to keep the rivers cleaned out, do some type of educational along the river, et cetera. So it's just,
Those things kind of come from the master plan,
they 5-year master plan.
because the younger generation's into hiking and outdoor sports, and I've been, Teresa probably knows this, anybody sitting here knows, I've been in favor of doing something with the river for years, because I think it's a gain for the public, for the government, for us, for the farmers, if we get people on the river and keep it cleaned up.
Right.
But it's a real struggle. But a lot of that came from the very first master plan there we did.
Right.
And trying to bring young people back into the county. That's what people are all of a sudden are realizing. Sadly, for me, it's a lot of things I think we take for granted, and a lot of people don't realize we have.
Right.
A lot of people like to kayak,
Mhm.
and I know to go from Ligonier to like, what is it, Benton, 130th, south of Goshen, that's probably pretty easy to do because the river's pretty. So it's like, how do you come
back this way.
Right.
I have done a great job up there, but once you get out,
So how do you get on one access to the other? Because I know my husband does a lot of boating up north. He has a company that he calls. He drops his boat, hides the car keys, they move that boat to where he can pick it up downriver. So,
really,
oh yeah, I hate it, but he likes it.
well, that's when we go kayaking, because
Because you gotta have that second
there's
term. I
part
think
of-
you should advertise and get word out. That sounds like a lot of fun for people that have kayaks to get, how long of a trail is that?
Oh, from Ligonier to, well, it's probably,
It's like 4 or 5 hours. I actually did from living here to, I didn't make it all the way to Benton. It was during COVID. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty fun.
A 4-hour day is nothing to be on the water.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it probably took me 4 hours to get like halfway. So it's a good trip.
Okay,
there's YouTube videos, I mean, I've seen them, YouTube videos on there where people went from Ligonier to
Mhm.
Benton.
And there's actual, I know you can get on the water in Ligonier, correct?
That's garbage.
And then there's a place in Benton as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are there other places to get off in between?
Mallard trees.
Well, any county road, you know,
Okay.
you don't get caught.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what
But I mean,
people,
we got off on County Road 17 one time. We went through, but that was a bear climbing up them stones. But,
oh, yeah,
that's the problem, but for me, that's been on the river, this part from here out is the more wildlife, but that's where the trees are down, that's where, but we even had some trouble in Benton. And then if I remember right, in Benton, we went down, we had to figure out which way to go.
yeah, there's
There's
like
I don't know what it is, but there's no, but then they got a beautiful park that you go through. Going through Goshen's kind of weird.
So
yeah,
you could get out of the park.
you know.
Right.
Yeah, you can get out of the park.
Okay.
Yeah, and then most people will go put on at Duke's Bridge or, you know, like out West Lakes or whatever.
Yeah,
But
because.
put on at Duke's Bridge and go down to Cosperville, that's about a 3 hour
Okay.
float. And then if they want to go on past Cosperville, on down toward Ligonier, you have to port quite a bit, because once you get past, you know, about halfway from Cosperville to Ligonier, it's really, yeah, a lot of trees and a lot of down stuff.
And on the
so.
back, on the south, then you get go through Mallard Cruise.
Yeah.
You go through all that. There's a lot of wildlife. You paddle a lot, but you don't get very far because the river just, that's.
Now, there's YouTube videos about Mount Rouge too. I was showing my daughter last year.
It's really neat. Years ago, we had the railroad crossing, but they closed out. We've got on some private places, but I haven't been down there in over a year. Even though through the state down there, there's some stuff you gotta be, to get around. And then you got a couple neighbors in there, who got a couple. They haven't hassled us, but they got signage up and all kinds of.
Okay, yeah, so our focus is not just water-based recreation, it's just what we worked a lot on last year. When our 5-year plan was put together 5 years ago, you know, the trails were part of it. We recognized we need to do water, but 5 years ago, we didn't know anything about disc golf or, you know, a lot of the dog parks. And I mean, our residents, their needs for recreation are changing constantly, and we've got to be able to address that, you know, and address it for all ages, you know, the youth all the way up to senior citizens or citizens with disabilities. They got to be able to access that, you know, so it's not about having, you know, baseball diamonds anymore, you know, it's, you know, frisbee golf, it's dog parks, it's all these things. So we, yeah, have to be able to assess for the county, you know, what are those needs? What are people looking for? And how do we start accommodating that? You know, maybe some of our existing, as a county, you know, the Noble County Parks Board, for the unincorporated areas, there are no parks. We don't have any parks. All the parks are within the city limits. You know, so, you know, we've had that conversation at our last summit with some of the local park boards. You know, are you going to take some of your baseball or softball diamonds, convert them into something else because they're just not being used? And that was a big decision that they were wrestling with, you know, so I think, you know, within the county, whether we're talking about planning, we're talking about, you know, recreation, we're talking about what's happening in a specific city, yeah, we need to be able to say, here's what we're seeing our community wants. Yeah, here's the age mixture, you know, all that stuff. The demographics, how is the demographics in our community changing?
There's a good example of that in Kendallville. They just, one of the guys I worked with for years was collecting aluminum cans and wanted to do a skate park in Kendallville for years and years. And then Diane Peachy, I don't know, but she was able to get the funding somewhere, and they took out the shuffleboard courts on the east side of Dexter over there and put a skate park in. Because kids were skating downtown on that.
And there's almost always someone on that. Every time I go to the park, there's someone on that skate park.
Yeah.
All sizes.
Yep.
Moms, dads, little kids.
Yeah, so I think that's part of what I think is exciting about, you know, the future of the park board is how do we really get in tune with what our community wants, you know? Now, Chris is on the Ligonier Park Board, so he's constantly looking at that. You know, John's a farmer, you know? I mean, you know, so, and we all bring different perspectives. You you know, an outdoors person, you love the outdoors. Yeah, I'm a lake person, you know, river. So we're all bringing different perspectives, but we're a good representation of what the county mix is, you know. So, yeah, that's what I'd really like, yeah, our board to just really hit some of these big issues this year about how do we identify what our community needs and how do we communicate what we have and work with, you know, the various other entities, so.
And that was one of the things with the kiosks, you know, especially for all back to the water. They can go and rent a kayak and the equipment for a low price, you know, and I guess I always kind of have, let's find things that anybody can afford.
Mhm.
That's why I always thought, man, the river is a family thing we could do if we can get it cleaned up. And just about anybody can afford or find a kayak, like
Right.
Jackie said.
Well, and for those of you, you may not be familiar with what we're talking about, there's a company called Rent for Fun that we looked at, and they would put in kayaks at different launch sites, because someone would be like, oh, I'd love to try it, but I don't want to spend $500 or $300 for a kayak. But if they could rent it for a few hours, they could rent it and then put it back and decide, do I like it or not? And these rental kiosks were not just for kayaks. Yeah, if you were at the park for a family reunion, it's like, oh, I'd love to be able to play volleyball, but we don't have a volleyball here. You could have volleyball, they'd have footballs, they'd have baseballs, they'd have soccer balls, they'd have all the stuff that you could just rent and put back when you're done, you know? So it's like, you know, people don't necessarily have all the equipment with them when they want it, or if you wanted to try, you know, disc golf, yeah, there could be something, oh, let's try it, you know? So just how do we make things accessible for people, you know, and it's not just the sports stuff, you know, Rose City, we just put in the Walk of Grace. It's a musical kids park, and it plays, when you walk around the circle, it plays Amazing Grace with these containers, like propane gas containers have been cut to different sizes. It's very interesting. We want to be able to do a whole lot of things. Yeah, very interactive. So we're looking at what are those things that we can do all over. So yeah, really, you know, want to encourage you to put on your thinking cap and think about how we, you know, can make this art board, you know, really strong and have a lot of input and be able to assist the local park boards, get their input. So
But right now, you don't have any ground.
no, we don't own any ground, but part of what we want to look at, which is the subgroup that I just mentioned, is to identify where that could be.
Okay.
Potentially. So we do
That's
not,
all
we
done.
don't have it. Yeah, the county holds none. Okay, we have Noble Palooza coming up. Gracie's got our space reserved for that. And I think we are probably going to end up participating in the Noble County Senior Expo on May 8th. We'll get more detail on that for our February meeting.
When's the Palooza?
Let me look it up.
March 8th.
Thank you.
Thank
I was gonna say, no, it's March, but I couldn't think of the date. Oh, it's on my sheet. Okay, thank you. All right. So I wrote it on that sheet. Yeah, Noble Palooza, March 8th, and the Senior Expo is May 8th. So we may ask for some volunteers to help with those, staff those two events. Is there, what I'd like to do in terms of, we've got these two subcommittees that I'll get some detail out to you guys on that. And then I'd like to really begin to have a deeper discussion in February on our 2025 goals. What is it we really would like to do? So I'd like you all to come kind of prepared with some suggestions on what you'd like to see there. We've talked about some of them already, but yeah, really let's kind of put together, yeah, our list of what we really want to get accomplished.
Don't we have to redo our master plan?
We do have to decide how we're
How
going to do
we're
it.
gonna pay for it?
Yeah. So that is on the discussion, but I
Oh,
said,
I'm sorry.
no, you're fine. What I thought was,
I didn't even follow
let's
my
try
mind.
and get together some goals first and then, yeah, update the master plan. The master plan, would we approach funding for that? We did not get the funding. So, you know, there's no way we can pay $20,000. So it's like, how do we do that? So that's still an open discussion that we need to have with the new administration and stuff, so. But I thought if we could go in with, here's what we're gonna do, here's our goals, here's our objectives, here's what we've accomplished, that gives me the stuff I need to make that presentation. So that's why I wanna take February and really talk about kind of where we think we can improve and what are the things we can do. Okay, is there any other business? That was everything I had on my agenda. Is there anything
No.
else that you guys can think of? No?
Not that I can think of. Just getting people involved, that's our biggest issue.
Yeah, and I
Or
will,
people to realize what they have.
yeah, I will extend the invitation for a February meeting to all the other park boards. Yeah, I think that would be a good opportunity, even if they can only show up every once in a while. I think their input's invaluable, and I'd like to extend that invitation to them.
Could you do like a revolving invitation? Like maybe every other meeting, every meeting have one of them come to us?
Yeah, and have maybe a topic, or something. Or, yeah, we would say, this month we're gonna talk about unique needs or whatever, and then they could send whoever the appropriate person is. So we'll think about how to do that, but maybe highlight a park or a city each month or once a quarter. Yeah, maybe we do that once a quarter. So, yeah, we'll think about how to do that, but we'd like to extend the invitation other than just the summits. So no other business? Kevin, did you have anything else? I know we talked about a lot of ideas. Did I give you an opportunity to bring up your?
As I'm sitting here listening to things roll through my head, it's like, and what I do on my Google Maps, I have everything plotted out there, like things of interest I want to go, restaurants I want to see, or campgrounds across the country. But for our area and the surrounding counties, there's a lot to do. And so how do we get the word out to the surrounding counties to bring people in here that, it's a half-hour drive for them to drive over here, Goshen or Angola.
I think that's Grace's job with the visitor bureau.
Mhm.
She's trying to tackle that all the time.
Well, one of the things that we might do is maybe our spring summit, maybe we'll have that be Noble County focused, have all the typical participants for Noble County. Maybe we could consider our fall one to be a multi-county summit, just to see if there's an interest in sharing information or whatever. I mean, that might be a little possibility of how to get them
When we had
involved.
coffee last week, and I brought up about
Mhm.
LaGrange County and they've got some LaGrange County, it's
Yeah.
really nice parks up there, man. It's like, in fact, they expanded the one,
They have a huge budget.
yeah,
But in reality, they don't have some of the assets we have. The acres assets are.
yes,
Shale Lake's a great asset.
right.
Mhm.
I mean, when I came back on 14 or whenever it was, I remember sitting there talking about it and coming from the farm side, farmers like, man, we don't want to spend any money. I mean, this is before I knew. The big fight was whether to spend them. I know why it's put on there because farmers are not like, we can take our taxes, let's get off your dead butt and go walk. I mean, we got these things. But after seeing it, what we got from the information and stuff like that, realizing what we have as far as acres, we have the river, we have Channel Lakes, we got Mary Tri-County, and also, wow, people don't realize, I didn't realize what we got. And I think when you live here, terribly, for me, I go hike, me and my wife like to hike, we hardly ever hike. I mean, Mary Lee's out my back door, and the only time I hike is when I gotta walk to one farm to another, So, I'm thinking, heck, I live here, and people don't, I don't realize.
Well,
And I think
my
that's been our struggle ever since we started, just trying to get people to realize what is here.
what my wife and I try to do is we walk 2 or 3 miles and then maybe find a local restaurant or something we haven't tried before, because you'd be really surprised that some of these local restaurants are really good.
Well, maybe that's something we need to do, is highlight a acre property, any property, and get a couple restaurants.
Could you do that, like once a month, throw out there, a couple things to do, here's a restaurant, here's 3 things to do in this area, and here's a restaurant. follow with it. And give people ideas. Sometimes people just don't have that idea.
Yeah.
Well, and a couple, just when I came in, like in 21 or whatever it was, the board members were writing an article once a month for the newspaper highlighting an area, maybe it was
Yeah.
Mallard's Roost or, Gene Stratton Porter. So maybe kind of revisit that, but instead of highlighting, a specific, entity, maybe, hey, let's plan a day, maybe we call it a park in a day, or I don't know, come up with something fun and just highlight, here's something you could do, you could go kayak, you could go walk and have the route and just say, hey, try this out. Yeah,
I mean,
it
a lot
could
of
be a
cases, it's
recommendation.
pretty inexpensive and young families, that's a great thing to do.
Right.
Kids outside,
Yeah, so maybe we could come up with, what's your
something that's not expensive.
a day in Noble County here, and maybe we could get something and, kind of develop a column in the paper that people kind of look for,
Oh,
you
this
know.
is Grace, it's got her name on it.
Yeah, well, look for it, like, just something
She's
that,
not here.
She tagged it as a goal.
Good. Yeah, because I'm thinking, we could have something, create something that people start looking for. Like the first Friday of the month, there's going to be a column on, what to do in Noble County, how to spend a day in Noble County. And it could be, any one of us could be the guest writer that month, say, here's how I would spend
Seems
it.
like the Tombstone Trail
Yeah,
project, do something like that with the recreational resources,
yeah,
at this part of the trail, and then there's things around it that you can do.
yeah, and,
The problem though we had when we go on acres, we were gonna have a hike on a Saturday. We tried Saturdays, I don't remember, we tried moving it, we just got nobody to come.
Mhm.
I mean, that's the thing, is somehow you gotta build some hype, you gotta get something to get people excited about it. So they're talking to their friend, who's talking to their friend, If we got 2 or 3 people in one of our events, it was like, that was a highlight. And we come back and we scramble our brains, how are we gonna get more people?
well,
I
and
don't know how we get this rolling.
Well, and I think if we have more people around the table, we have more of the word of mouth. Yeah,
Well,
it's
that's gonna
like,
help, because it
yeah.
was just us.
yeah, but I'm thinking like if we had something like that, we're gonna do X, Y, Z, all of us could bring ourselves and one person, all of a sudden, you've got 20 people, and then they're gonna
Or
tell
find a
somebody for the
well-known
next.
person in the community and say, here's your goal.
Mhm.
Sometime this week, you're gonna do this, this, and this.
Uh-huh.
And then we would like for you to, report on it. And
Yeah.
then maybe that could be part of the newspaper.
Kinda like
Maybe
the-
it has to do something like that.
Kind of like a mystery diner,
Yeah.
have a mystery visitor, so,
Well, put someone into an experience.
yes,
And then have them, especially someone that's well-known in the community, that will catch people's attention.
right, okay.
How do people younger than us communicate? Because,
It's all cell phone, it's all social media.
I mean, I'm not ready to cancel, when my subscription to the paper runs out, cancel that, just read it online. But, I mean, I get most of my news from the newspaper, and I know my daughter's like 24, and I know she doesn't. read the
Most of them
newspaper.
don't ever, know how to pick one up.
Right.
Yeah, I think social media is the biggest thing that they're listening to, but I think unless it's something that's going to grab their attention quickly, they're not going to look at it.
Yeah, they've got so many other things to look at.
Well, that right now, everything comes at them so quickly.
Well, and most of the things are 30 seconds or less.
Right.
They don't want to watch, 5-minute, spiel. You gotta catch them right now.
Or even if you weren't reading the paper, you were watching TV and seeing a commercial or.
That's
or
what
back in
you
the day,
guys-
listening to
I
radio.
mean, but
Right.
Nobody does that.
Now the live streams, yeah.
Yeah, now it's podcasts and
I just don't
whatever.
have no, because my wife always.
Yeah, but yeah.
I call.
Okay, all right. Any other things to be brought before the group?
Do we have any shoreline fishing sites in Noble County? Because that's something that we've been looking for. So I do youth activities throughout the entire county. I got about 600 youth, and that was a new endeavor, is shoreline fishing. And we've got Gene Stratton Porter. And we got Bixler, but that was a very good fishing for us when we were testing that.
Well, I
So
know
I
at
just-
Duke's Bridge you
Yeah,
can fish
hit that
there,
channel.
but
Did you hit that
that's,
channel?
I have, no,
That channel's always.
yeah, on the back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And that's better. Yeah, that's better. But I got,
I know there's
I
the
got-
park in Rome City that you can fish in.
yep, we went there. Yep.
And then at Duke's Bridge, you can fish there.
It's interesting, because like the park in Rome City, you go there, and
Yeah.
You know, but maybe, I'm just saying,
Yeah,
from a park standpoint, shoreline fishing, you don't have to have guys, you don't have to have boat.
Right.
And I'm looking for, I have a 6 series fishing workshop, so I'm looking for places to do shoreline fishing,
Ah.
because I don't want to put them on boats, it's
Right.
safety, risk management, so.
Okay,
Yeah, so anyways, there's something about, I don't know, and then,
so great thing to add to our map, any places that we could do
Think
shoreline
about-
fishing.
Matt, when I was a kid, there used to be, Bear Lake used to have it, and I don't see it happen much.
Well, I think
See, a
people
lot of
own
it
the
comes down-
property and they don't want people on
I
it.
know.
That's
that-
it.
Yeah.
Bear Lake
Exactly.
used to, you could go anywhere around that whole lake and
Yeah,
lawsuits and everything else, it's all shut off.
well, I'm just trying to think like on West Lakes, because that's where I live. I can't think of, there's no public place along Waldron, Tamarack, Steinbarger, or, Jones. There's no public place that you can just pull up and park,
Yeah.
other than along the river at Duke's Bridge.
There was a Bear Lake that we had fished, there's an old park there. Old park. Yeah, it was a
So on the
little.
east side,
Is it close to Bear Lake Camp?
see, I thought some of that
Right
was
off the
vacated.
Does Mary Lee have public access?
You're not allowed to fish it.
I
I
wasn't
tried it
sure.
already. Yeah, It's
Yeah, there
like,
used to
it's
be
a
a-
wilderness
It
preserve.
would be on the
Yeah.
northeast corner there when I was a kid, that part, but it's got,
The shoreline.
How about
yeah,
Dockers
and
Lake?
when there used to be a local store,
Yeah, I haven't
and
found
people
one.
lined that whole thing fishing when I was a kid.
Doesn't Diamond Lake have
Well, Diamond
Mallard
Lake's got-
Roost? Or, what
They
are
have
those?
access there.
They do have access around.
Yeah,
But
Diamond
it
Lake,
might be real
I think
shallow.
they
I'll have to look into that one, yeah, I haven't seen that one.
yeah.
So we are doing that, so that was an investigation
Okay,
that
that's-
I've been to about 8 lakes right now, shoreline fishing, because next fall is my fall fishing workshop.
Okay.
It's gonna be like 2 spots to go.
So
So,
that's something we can
it's
definitely.
interesting.
Yeah,
mean,
I think that's a great asset to
Do
add.
you do anything with that workshop in the winter with the kids?
In the winter,
Mm-hmm.
no, I'm not ice fishing. I just-
No, I was doing a side conversation.
Oh,
My
okay.
husband ties flies. You should,
Oh, yeah,
that would be
yeah, yeah.
a great thing for them to at
I-
least play
For
with.
fly fishing?
Mhm.
You wanna do fly fishing workshop?
You should ask him.
Yeah, I
I
totally.
would ask him.
That'd be great. Yeah, I got a name of last name's Edwards.
Mhm.
I think he might live on there. And he is a fly fisherman as well. So I was hoping to tag him to fly fish down there sometime.
It's not King Lures, is it?
I-
Is he,
I don't really know. It was Aaron Edwards'
I think
dad,
one of the sheriff's deputies also used to be a fly fisherman. I think.
Derek.
Well, be Eric's dad, I believe he was, I thought I heard him talking about fly fishing.
I know the boys make fishing lures and things like that, little plastics
Well, I
and
think
stuff.
his, he may know where he can go.
Yeah, well, I've talked to them before. So,
And you know, till you brought that up, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, when I was a kid, there were a lot of.
Yeah, is there any place in Ligonier, Chris, where you can shoreline fish? Cause I was thinking you got a lot of river there.
Yeah,
well, it's a boat ramp there on the northeast side of town there where, I don't know what street that is, I mean,
Along
you can
lakes.
probably fish off the ramp there.
yeah, and the kids, I know high school kids over there. And they'll fish on ramps and stuff, but then the boat comes and then you gotta get out of the way.
Right.
And then they just
The other
shake
thing
everything
too
out.
is if your
So-
group wants to, for instance, the Knights of Columbus, they did that one time where they had so many fishing poles and they let all the
Really?
kids come in. And they just kind of helped the kids get worms on and
Yeah,
you just had extra adults, but it was a fun, community service day.
I think there will be some private lakes that some people would know.
well, that's what we got, I got 2, but I was hoping to get some more, so. Yeah,
That could be a really interesting add-on to our map. Yes,
interesting.
public fishing, shoreline fishing.
Mhm.
So West Nova Schools have an after-school fishing club. We get 100 kids there.
Wow,
That's what they were saying. So people want to fish.
sure.
They just,
So where do they fish at?
right there in front of
they're pond, yeah.
So I'm just saying,
That's awesome.
people want to fish. They
Well,
just-
some,
They don't have a boat, they don't have something to take them.
I mean, some of the things that we used to do when I was a kid, now it's coming back. I mean, target shooting, I was surprised, Central Oklahoma got a pretty good size.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, oh, that's cool, girls and boys.
Mhm.
It's done quite well.
Right. Well,
It seems
archery, you're
fun.
seeing a lot of things.
It gets kids off of phone.
Archery, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
you're seeing
Archery's
it.
big, yeah.
my son was second in the state when he was in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're seeing all kinds of things, you know.
Right.
Oh, new category. Look at that.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
All right, any other, really good discussion, guys, I really appreciate all the input, I'm glad that, yeah, we're able to have you guys participate, that really does make a difference. The more minds and the more thoughts we have, we can feed off of each other, and I really value, you know, everyone's input, and, you know, John and Chris know me well enough that I want input, I wanna be able to, feed off of each other, because there's no pride in ownership. We're here all to help each other. So let's just work and see how to make this a great organization. So with that, if there are no other things coming for the group, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Our next meeting is February 26th. So can we have a motion to adjourn? Chris, thank you, and John, second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right, thank you guys very, very much.
I have a landowner, he fed me, I live on it, but I know he was very big into hunting and fishing.
That might be the name.
He's on 100 South, off Wolf Lake Road, Wolf Lake Road out